Alright, shalom, Hebrews. Okay, Hebrews, it's finna come a time to where, we finna tell the real about you if you really want to be in the promised land. Because the Israelite Brotherhood finna be in the promised land. And if you ain't supporting me, you ain't finna make it home. And then, if you don't understand the history that I show on YouTube, you not finna make it home, because we not finna have all these doctrines in the promised land. We're not finna have all these doctrines in the promised land. So if your history don't line up with the Israelite Brotherhood history on YouTube, you won't be in the promised land. And I'm fixing to go to the promised land. I got a place already. So that's already took care of. So if you Israelites want to get in the promised land and, be in your heritage, you're going to have to listen to what I say and understand what I got going on. And if you can't fit into that, you won't be in the promised land. You won't make it home, and that you're going to stay here in captivity. That's the way it's got to be, because there's only one history for the whole Israelite community, and the Israelite Brotherhood has it. I explained where Seb Hardy coming to the Israelite heritage. I explained how Ashkenazi coming to the Israelite heritage. I explained who the Edomites are. I explained how we got expelled out the land. I explained the whole history, and it's the only history that's going to be accepted in the promised land. And that all these other doctrines and all these other organizations that got all these doctrines, that those doctrines won't be in the promised land. They ain't finna be in the promised land trying to get you a place to stay. Like I say, those doctrines that 10 lost tribes, or that we went into Africa in 70 AD because her Edomite temple was destroyed, or that Almighty Yah changed his whole covenant and allowed a demigod to come in and be sacrificed for us, and it voided our sins, but it didn't. No, we're not going to have no demigod worship in the promised land. We're not going to have demigod worship in the promised land. I'm going to make sure of that, because the only way you're going to be able to get in is through the Israelite Brotherhood. That's the only way you're going to be able to get in, man, is through the Israelite Brotherhood. You know what I'm saying? That you ain't getting in no kind of way. You ain't getting in no kind of way. You ain't getting in no other kind of way. If Israelite Brotherhood get established, that you're going to have to understand the history that I show. And if you don't understand that history, then, it's a wrap. I can't see you being in the promised land, because the history that the Israelite Brotherhood show, it protects our heritage in the real Israelites, whereas the other doctrines that you Israelites then develop in captivity of Jewish myths, those histories don't protect the real Israelite, and how it kind of include non-Israelites into our heritage and so forth, especially that 10 lost tribe doctrine. That's the worst doctrine ever. Man, it's the 10 lost tribe doctrine, because it allowed everybody to be Israelites all everywhere, and then they don't suffer none of the curses and reap none of the repercussions of a broken covenant. And those be the myths that was created to distort our heritage while we was out of heritage. Yes, the people we abandoned our heritage to, some of them, the main group of them, the Sephardics, were Babylonian scribes, Amorites, and had a lot of civilizations and states and empires, and they know how to create false history and so forth to keep a subjected people subjected for a long time. And then that's what happened to us, because we fell up under their authority after being enslaved in Africa, kidnapped from Africa, and brought, all to the rest of the world, and that's how we Israelites got into America is because of what happened in the book of Jeremiah when we broke the covenant and said that we wasn't going to do the covenant no more, and that how we only wanted Egyptian religion. See, a lot of Israelites don't know that we ran into Africa during the Babylonian wars, abandoning our heritage to the Babylonian scribes. And then while we was in Africa, they created a whole lot of false history, about the Israelite history, and then converted a lot of peoples all over the world, and then the Israelites that used the Jewish myths believe in that history that they created. Well, those are the same folks that come down from Spain and Portugal and enslaved us and then brought us to their established land. The Amorites been over here in the Americas, and then I showed that the Sephardists during the conquistador era, how did they come to the Americas and established a strong presence. And then that allowed us to be brought from Africa with they converts in Africa over to the Americas. And we know what we've been through is identical to the curses. And then I show in them videos how did no Israelite leave during Assyrian times and so forth, and how those are myths created meant to keep our heritage distorted and so forth by the people that we abandon our heritage to. Those would be the Sephardists, and how Ashkenazi come into our heritage because Almighty Yah called them there. Called them there during the Babylonian wars. They name in history was Scythian, but they controlled the Chaldean nation, and that was Ashkenazi, chasing us out the land, and who we was at war with in the book of Ezekiel and in the book of Jeremiah. And we finally got expelled into Africa by them, and then that's why they in the land, and they've been associated with our heritage ever since. And then also, the Edomites, did a land grab. You see, you other Israelites ain't gonna talk about the land grab that the Edomites did when we was chased out during the Babylonian wars into Africa to breaking the covenant. You Israelites, in these camps ain't gonna talk about the Edomites doing the land grab during the Babylonian wars, and then going, taking over our land and so forth, and then how they descendants there now with a blank history in the past on what happened and how that they got there. Yes, a lot of civilizations and so forth and moved into the land, but the main stock that's there now is the Edomites, and it's our job to remove them, and we're not going to be able to remove them if Israelites are using the Edomites' history through the Sephardim, who are Edomite Amorites. The Sephardim is part of the Sephardi family groups, and those are the ones that are Edomites. Matter of fact, those are the ones that Edomites mean that converted to Judaism that you see in the black hats and so forth, and black suits mostly and so forth, and then how that they, converted to Judaism in 130 BC. Well, Israelites, I'm going to sum this up, but like I say, ain't no coming into the promised land if you ain't using the Israelite Brotherhood history, because I ain't going to let you in. It wouldn't make no sense to let all these doctrines into the land to defeat our heritage. Everybody believing in all kind of stuff. Nah, that ain't going to happen. And you're going to see me in the promised land. And then if you want to get there, you're going to have to do what the Israelite Brotherhood say. Ain't no getting around it. You're going to have to do what the Israelite Brotherhood say. In the history that I show, you're going to have to embrace it with your whole heart. And I'm going to know. Because it's going to be the Israelite Brotherhood doors is what you're going to have to pass through. Shalom to the Israelite community.